I hereby call the Candy County Board of Commissioners now in session. Would you all please stand as we say the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good morning, everyone. We got quite a group here today, and I'm glad to see you all here. Also, there's individuals who will be watching this on YouTube and live streaming it, and I'd like to thank everybody's interest in Candy County government, and especially the lady who stopped by the fair booth and said that she watches every meeting, so welcome. Moving right along, commissioners, you all received copies of the bills, and there's a motion by Commissioner Nissen to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gardner. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. We also received in your Dropbox an email, copies of the last meeting's minutes. Any corrections or additions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Mr.
A
Chairman.
motion by Commissioner Emdek and
I'll second it.
a second by Commissioner Anderson. And I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And pass unanimously. At this point, I would like to call on Candy County Attorney Shane Baker, and you have Resolution 2133 about our DAC.
That's correct.
Please
Regarding
proceed.
Candy Works, it's been in the process of dissolving, and we're at that stage in that process where they need to forward the assets on. The resolution outlines some of the very general history of this. This corporation or nonprofit came into existence in 1990, and in its articles of incorporation, it stated that upon dissolution, the remainder of the assets shall be distributed to the county of Candy, Ohio. We appear to be at that stage. I don't know if any of the commissioners had questions about what Candy Works is, which is why Kathy is here today. But the resolution has a number of whereas clauses. It includes that provision in the articles. Then last July and August, there was a vote by the Candy Works board to proceed with dissolving. This board met on September 15th, 2020 and approved the resolution to dissolve Candy Works. Since that process under Minnesota Chapter 317A, there's a number of requirements in process. Some of that involves notices of intent to dissolve that are filed with the Secretary of State and the Attorney General's office. Those have been provided, but for them to complete that process, they need to distribute their assets, which is why I'm here today. The notice they filed appears to indicate that the dollar value is $587,054. That's at least the notice they provided to the Attorney General's office. So the request here today is that the county board accept the assets of Candy Works as allowed by law and under the articles, and that we notify Candy Works of that acceptance so they can complete the final dissolution.
Mr.
We have a request. Commissioner Emdek.
Before we move on the resolution, I think it might be helpful to briefly give some of the history of why the DAC is being dissolved. There was, if Harlan were here, he could.
Yes.
Yeah, he's on the
Song
documents
and verse,
that moved for dissolution.
You know, it was a lot of, before COVID even, there was a lot of challenges that were starting to take place because of federal requirements with transportation and other things and losing contracts with providers. So somebody who can do a better job maybe of giving a brief history and reason for dissolving might help the public understand why we're doing this, considering doing this.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You got
Kathy
your presentation all prepared? Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
please share your name and.
I work obviously with the Home and Community-Based Services unit of our agency. And in that, we serve the people who worked at Candy Works DAC. the DAC had been challenged with a number of things financially over the years. And number one was transportation, but I think just even the challenges of serving the population they were serving, they had a lot of very medically fragile individuals, people who were seriously cognitively impaired, had lots of needs. I think they served them great, and this is a gap now for our community in serving those individuals with day programming. The fortunate thing is when COVID hit, then a lot of these people are staying home and they've found alternatives to the DAC. So maybe that's fortunate in the timing of how this occurred, but I think the challenges of COVID just compounded things and they made a decision to dissolve. There was a lot of feelings over that, but it was a necessity they felt, so they dissolved. And the board accepted that. I think late summer, I brought it to board. We had to do a needs determination, if you remember, and we considered all the population that was being served by the DAC. Divine House Incorporated is trying to work some things out to hopefully serve that population in the future. But if they are unable, maybe there would be another provider who will step forward. Again, because of the COVID crisis and because of some other things that have taken place, I think the people who were really highly wanting to work or be served through day programming have been served. There's ProWorks in Litchfield, a number of them have gone to. We have the West Central Industries here in Wilmer that a number have gone to. And there's adult day programming that a number have gone to. So I think a number are being served. There's still a population that would like to be served in the future.
Ms. Nelson, it's my understanding too, this is not just unique for Candioi County, but other counties, DACs have also been struggling.
Correct. On the positive note, I've heard there's some increases that may occur due to this year's legislative session, but we'll see how that, we don't know the exact amounts or what that's going to look like in the future, but that could help sustain programming.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Anderson?
I just was going to make a motion that we would accept this resolution 2021-33, if that's okay at this time.
A motion by Commissioner Anderson and a second by Commissioner
I'll second that.
Emdek.
And I would just thank you, Kathy, for that explanation.
Commissioner,
Just a question, the number that we're getting is the dollar value at 587? Or does that include the indebtedness for the payroll protection loan and the employee payroll? What's the bottom line is 587,054 for the value of the asset?
That's what's on Attorney General's, that's what was filed with the Attorney General's office.
So that's after the assets, or after the liabilities have been taken care of?
There may be a couple outstanding liabilities that we as a county will be taking over if after the funds are transferred, but they should be minor.
Okay.
Maybe some attorney fees that we have to cover outside that the DOC is working with County Attorney Baker. They had an attorney working with them. Those fees may have to be covered yet out of that funds.
Right.
Yeah, the rest of the document shows bank assets and other assets greater than the 587, if you look at the rest of it.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my understanding is that the assets are not coming to the county for example, for the general fund, but they're to be distributed to nonprofits serving the disabled population here in Candioi County. So what kind of processes are going to be, do we know, for distributing those?
That's a good question.
funds?
Administrator
I'll
Condell.
try to answer that. Right now, the assets will be coming to us as is. I would recommend that we would form a committee to kind of look at what we want, how we want to distribute those funds, how do we want to manage those. This is the first step, and then a plan will be made at a future date of how to spend these dollars. Of course, as we talked about in September, when we talked about dissolving this, is we're going to try to keep these funds in this area as much as possible. But there might be some outside outliers that we just talked about, attorney fees, some other fees that might have to be covered.
Yes. We can't guarantee that, but we're going to work really hard, and that was my concern as well. Can we earmark those dollars for those
Right.
people we've been serving?
The last thing we want to do is to swallow them up and not recognize the intent of those funds.
Okay.
That's very appropriate. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
I just got one.
Yes.
So
Proceed.
I just want to thank the Candy DAC board, Sheila Ellingbull. I just want to spell out during this year process. This has been a long, outdrawn process. She's worked numerous hours, and so I just want to publicly thank her. And she was kind of put in the middle between being dissolved and not being dissolved, and so we recognize that hardship that she may have gone through, and we also want to recognize the other board members and the director.
Yes. Yes, it's not only numerous hours that they put in, not only Sheila, but especially Sheila because I know her well, but the other board members have been on that board for many years serving that population and have done a lot for them. And I understand really well why they want to be sure these dollars try to go to their clients that they served or some of their client population. Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Baker.
You and Mark sign it, and it goes to
Okay.
you.
All right. Can I do this later here, maybe?
Okay.
Okay. And at this point, I'd like to call on zoning administrator, Mr. Gary Gear, and I believe you have a nuisance abatement hearing that you want to follow up on?
Yes, I do. Thank
Welcome.
you, Mr. Chairman. And it is the property located at 13670 County Road 4 Northeast, east side of Green Lake area. Kyle Carlson is the property owner. This is a site that I've been working on with him since March, and slowly, and just more recently now has certainly paid some attention to the need to clean it up. It would be my recommendation. He's made significant steps. There were still 5 vehicles and some building materials in one location instead of all over the property that were left on it as of yesterday at a site visit. So in speaking with him yesterday, he's intending to get those vehicles licensed and get that last pile removed. So my recommendation to the board today would be to maybe establish a date to have the nuisance fully abated. So possibly.
Do you want to show the pictures for the record?
I sure can. I have them here. So here's some of there was a construction trailer, there's just different building materials. This, and then turning the page, that's just the dock standing on edge. And then if I move here. Snowmobile camper, wood piles, miscellaneous vehicle parts. And sliding down here again, more miscellaneous items. All of these things that you're just looking at now have been removed from the property. So we're making strides in the right direction. Then if I go to here, the stack of pallets there, tires are gone, vehicle is gone. Again, right here, bunch of stacks of building materials and a vehicle that's gone. More just miscellaneous items stacked around the property. There, again, lawn tractors and the irrigation pipe, different things behind the building on the property. And another vehicle with several trailers with miscellaneous items on. And again, just keeping on, it's just kind of been left abandoned. Just a lot of items across the property. But and I guess I'll probably stop with that one because this material has been removed as well. So significant steps have been made. There's still just a few things left. So that's why I was wanting to make my recommendation to have the board extend the deadline just a couple weeks and let the property owner take care of it without us having to step in. So I would recommend like a September 1st date for nuisance abatement And I think having visited with him yesterday, he is fully intending and able to comply with that.
Okay. According to the information we have then is that he was given a 2-week notice on the 1st of this month, but he's making progress, still working on it, and you want a motion, or you recommend a motion for, that we pass this abatement to take place September 1st if he hasn't made
Correct.
that kind of progress.
That would be my recommendation.
Okay, any questions, comments from any of the commissioners? Commissioner Emdak?
I would move on the recommendation of staff, given the date for mitigation.
A motion by Commissioner Emdak, a second by Commissioner Nissen. Any further questions? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Well, thank you very much for bringing that forward to us and being on top of that, and I'm glad they're working on it, and I think it's a good idea we give them a couple more weeks.
Sounds real good. Thank you all.
All right. At this point, I would like to call on Executive Director Eric Day.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Eric Day. I am the Executive Director of MidMinnesota Development Commission. I know some of you fairly well. I've had conversations with several others, and there are a few of you to whom my face might be a little bit new. I'm here today just to basically provide a check-in from the MidMinnesota Development Commission to this body. It's something that I'm trying to do in each of our counties. This is the third of our fourth. We'll have Meeker in September. My goal is to make sure that the only time you see me more often than when I want something. And today I don't want anything from you. I just want to update you on things that are going on at the MMDC. With me today, I have several of my top-notch staff. I have Transportation Coordinator Terry Smith. I have Sue Gimsey, who is our Finance Director and is here to lend some credibility to any numbers that I provide. And I have Michelle Moratsky, our Economic Developer, who has been working very closely with Administrator Kleindl in recent days. So
Too much.
we also have several other people on staff. We have Community Planner Justice Walker. We have Transportation Planner Kyle Tenaple, and we have Ben Carlson, who is our Communications Specialist. We also have another Economic Developer joint. Yes.
Well, put your documents on camera if you want to, so the public watching on TV can
Sure.
see it.
Perfect.
Sure. So here we have Michelle Moratsky and Transportation Planner Kyle Tenaple, and then we have Communication Specialist Ben Carlson. We will also have a second economic developer joining us in mid-September. We're very excited about that. And I can't quite release his name yet because he's still finishing some things up at his current employer, but we're very excited to say the least. The next thing I would want to draw your attention to is Commissioner Raleigh Nissen. Raleigh has been serving with the MMDC since March of 2015. Raleigh is on a number of different committees, and I want to let you know that Commissioner Nissen is a faithful attendant. There's rarely a meeting that he misses, and when he does miss, he gives me plenty of notice as to the reason why, and usually it's another county-related meeting. So definitely understandable. He's a very good contributor in our meetings. We happen to meet on a monthly basis for our Regional Transportation Coordinating Council project, and so that has given me a good opportunity to receive some great input from Commissioner Nissen, and we're very happy to have him and really thank him for his service. So there's been a lot of new at the Mid-Minnesota Development Commission in the last year and a half. Obviously, some of those changes are very physical. For instance, we have a new location. You might know that we were located in the lower level, the basement level of the Wilmer City office building for roughly 40 years. And when I came on board in March of 2020, that was one of the first things we needed to fix because it was just not conducive to a professional environment. And it was not as much visibility as we needed. We also have a new logo, new website. Those things seem to be minor, but they also provide a foundation for us to really be out into the community and making a better difference. Now, more importantly, we have some other changes. We have, of course, I'm here, which is probably the least important of these, but we also have a lot of new staff at the MMDC. We had a lot of longtime staff at the MMDC. We had the person who was in my position prior to me, he was in his role for well over 20 years. We had a senior level community planner who departed at the same time. Don Winkler, our previous executive director, departed. And then we had longtime economic developer Les Nelson, who retired in June of this year, at the end of June this year. So 6 of our 8, or soon to be 8 again, MMDC staff will have joined since I joined in March of 2020, 2 days before the first shutdown. We've used the Karazak funds that we received to increase the size of our economic development team. This is not a one-person job anymore. So temporarily, we were up to 3 economic developers with knowledge that Les Nelson would be retiring, and our plan is to stick with 2 for the long term. We have new drive at the MMDC. We're committed to quality. We don't want to provide cookie-cutter plans. We want more stakeholder engagement, and we want a greater focus on delivering a return on the public's investment in us. This slide gives you a picture of our budgeted revenue for fiscal year 2021. You'll see that we receive a lot of funding from the federal EDA, but we also receive some other federal funds from Department of Transportation, some funds from the state. We have some local contracts that we do. And also we have, of course, our tax levy, which is provided up to about roughly a third of our funding for fiscal year 2021. I want to provide just a basic overview on what we use that levy for. Our levy provides matching funds, first of all, for state and federal grants. And this slide gives you an understanding of how we've leveraged those funds. So $70,000 was leveraged to receive $70,000 in EDA planning funds. $13,235 was leveraged to receive $75,000 in MnDOT transportation planning funds, and $19,500 was leveraged to receive $175,500 in MnDOT Rural Transportation Coordinating Council funds. So we really put those dollars to good use to get a really nice leverage. How else does the MMDC levy serve our region? First of all, it supports our operations. We know that every year we're going to have increasing costs in health insurance and everything else. So we need to stay afloat, and we need to keep everything in the black. And so our levy helps us do that. It helps us keep our technical assistance rates low. We do provide a lot of services to communities for free. Some exploration, some consultation, some technical assistance. Sometimes that does lead to bigger projects, though, for which we do contract. And while our regular rate is already lower than most private firms, probably lower than every private firm you've ever seen, we tend to provide further subsidies to those cities. We don't want finances to be a barrier to, especially small cities or larger cities with bigger projects. We don't want financing to be a barrier to doing good things in our community. Excuse me. I'm never going to get this right. All right. Next, we're going to talk about economic development a little bit. And I'll have economic developer Michelle Moratsky take care of these slides.
Thank you, Eric.
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. Thank you, commissioners, for having us today. As you can see on the slide here, we do quite a few things in economic development. I'm not sure I knew what I was getting into when I started at the end of last September, but it has been great jumping into these things and really diving in for our communities in our region. Of course, we have Candy, Ojai, Meeker, McLeod, and Renville counties that we serve. So we do a lot of different things between, the network development. We help people with their business plans, even getting them to the right resources if they haven't started one, maybe reviewing them and helping them button them up a little bit. We have training opportunities. We did partner with the Wilmer Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce for a training series that went through a bunch of different marketing and opportunities. Had some good attendance with that. We also really help with a lot of grant assistance, and those grants can be from anywhere, including the Wilmer Area Community Foundation, all the way up to grants.gov and getting some of those federal grants. So we have a really wide breadth of the things that we assist our communities with. Also, of course, childcare, broadband, housing, and workforce. We'll talk some more about that in a moment. We also have 2 revolving loan funds. We have our Legacy Loan Fund that was set up years ago and was recently defederalized. So the idea of the revolving loan fund, as you probably know, others may not, is that as the money is returned or paid back, then we can re-loan it out. So it's always flowing through. The CARES Act revolving loan fund, we were granted $870,000 for that loan fund, and then an additional $87,000 for administrative costs of it. To date, we have 10 loans closed on that fund. It has been really great throughout our region to help people get the money that they need to either start a business, expand a business. Some, maybe needed a little extra push. The CARES Act grant has your first 6 months are deferred payments, so you don't have a payment for the first 6 months, helps people kind of stabilize their operations. And then it's 0% interest for the first 24 months of the loan. After that, it is 2%, and then it does go up to 4% depending on the term. So it goes from 0 to 4% over the course of a few years. All right, on the next page, that's kind of a little trick, isn't it? I'd like to talk about our comprehensive economic development strategy. That is a fancy name for a roadmap. It is a strategy-driven plan for our regional economic development. Within the plan, we use the cornerstones of the U.S. Economic Development Administration's programs. That includes human capital, economic competitiveness, community resources, and foundational assets. We update this plan every 5 years, and the critical component of it is if our region, our 4-county region, did not have this plan, not only could MidMinnesota Development Commission not apply for grants through the federal EDA, but many of our partners could also not be eligible for them. So it's just critical that we have that. And that includes, the EDA infrastructure funds, revolving loan capitalizations, and CARES Act funds. I really want to stress that we have our community input session. It's our final one. We've already completed Renville, McLeod, and Meeker counties. And the last one here in Kandiyohi County is tomorrow. Heritage Bank at their community room. We have 3 opportunities. You can come to one, you can come to all 3, whatever works for you. We'll do the same exercises at each of them. One at 8 a.m., another at noon, and the final one at 5:30. So we could easily, just kind of come up with something ourselves and make it work. But it is really critical. Again, Eric mentioned the visibility that we perhaps didn't have in the past. So it's really critical for us that we get that visibility out there, get people interested in what we do and how we can help them, and let people have a voice in their community and the direction we go over the next 5 years. So the next slide, we'll just talk a little bit about the CARES Act supplemental grant. Again, this is a 2-year grant. This is actually the grant that I was brought into the organization using with the retirement of Les and the departure of one of our other developers. That changes things a little bit. So that made me happy, excited, nervous, scared, all of the things. But I'm really looking forward to what the future holds for MidMinnesota. This grant, though, was $400,000, and it was a non-competitive grant. And we were invited because we had an approved SEDS. So you can see how important that document is for our region. There were about 850 recipients throughout the country that received this type of a grant. The goal of the grant is to increase regional economic resilience, and it provided an opportunity for us to prepare for Les's retirement. And as Eric mentioned, right now, it's not a one-person job. Right now it is. But it's not a one-person job, and I'm really looking forward to the gentleman that we have coming on board in September. All right. And the last slide I want that I will show you is the staff activities through the CARES Act. We are connecting businesses to economic relief, to financing, to resources. We provide the grant writing and other technical assistance. I've been working with a great team for the NTIA grant with broadband. I absolutely could not do it myself. It is a very much a collaborative effort. And that is really what any of the grant writing that I have worked with is. Someone comes to me with an idea, I throw some words at them, they look at it, make their suggestions. We work as a team on it. Definitely not me saying, here you go, this is my expert opinion, because I'm not always the expert. And if I'm not, I find people who are and connect them with those resources. So we also assist counties with their economic relief decisions and their screening. We did assist a couple of the counties with their Karazak dollars when we had that program going on. Also the SEDS development, as we talked about, we update that every 5 years. And we work towards solutions. Again, the childcare shortages, housing shortages, workforce shortages, and broadband shortages. On the childcare shortages, if you remember a few years ago, there was a rural childcare innovation program with First Children's Finance. Candy Ojai County participated in that. One of the results of that, I believe, was the WISE facility over in Spicer. And currently, I am working with Renville County and Meeker County also on that same program. So we're seeing a lot of good things happening over in those areas. That's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions, comments from anybody? Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michelle, thank you so much for your work in this. It appears to me that obviously broadband has been a big emphasis for all of us. But the thing that I'm hearing from people are housing issues and especially childcare. It's really one of the big barriers, and I'm hearing this on the economic development side as well, to getting people back into the workforce if they don't know that their children are going to be able to be taken care of during the day while they're trying to work. It's got to be, and the cost is crushing. To a lot of families, and that's a real barrier, just as much as transportation is, for example. So I'm hopeful that there are some different things that organizations like yours and others, and we as government officials can be doing to help enhance that and find more childcare options. I know that during the pandemic, we've lost a lot of in-home providers, and I don't see that coming back anytime soon. I know that's a state issue as well. They've made it very difficult to do that type of thing. So when I show up tomorrow at the meeting, that's one of the things that I'm going to press all of you all on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that we do to, we're only one cog in the wheel.
Right.
For sure. And we participate on a lot of different groups. For example, housing, the Southwest Continuum of Care, the Vision 2040 Housing Subcommittee, participating in those and getting MidMinnesota out there in front of these organizations so that we become a little more top of mind when they see a grant and they're like, gosh, I don't know how to do this myself. We can help them do that. Also the child care, you are absolutely correct. And the things that have come out of the rural child care innovation programs that we've talked about is, again, the family providers and the centers, their pay is low. And for so long, they're just a babysitter. And I will say they are not a babysitter. They are the people that are helping shape our children's lives. So we have to look at maybe some creative ideas on how to subsidize some of their wages or different programs that we can help people afford to have the child care, let the provider actually make a living wage, and get people back to work as well. All right, I will turn it back to Eric.
It's plain to see that this is not a one-person job, the economic development side. There's just too much going on. The next thing I want to talk about briefly is our community development. We have Justice Walker, who is our community developer, he's top-notch. He was unable to be here today because of a conflict. He's out, of course, helping a stakeholder. But we do offer quite a bit of traditional planning assistance. And when I say traditional planning, think ordinance, think zoning, think comprehensive planning. Right now, we're working on 2 comprehensive plans within the region, and I think we have 4 ordinance projects that are currently underway. And that's in addition to some of the free consultation and technical assistance that we offer to cities from time to time. And again, our cities range in population from well over 20,000 to 45. So different communities definitely have different needs. We also have some other interesting community development related projects. We have the MN Gravel 160 bike event that is coming up in September. If you don't know Justice is an avid biker. In fact, he chooses not to own a car. He bikes everywhere he goes, or for longer distance meetings, he uses the MMDC vehicle. But he sees gravel biking as possibly an opportunity to bring people into our region to participate, to enjoy our environment, but also to bring their wallet and spend some money. So it's something that he's piloting here in September. If you're interested in riding 160 miles over the course of a weekend, I definitely encourage you to do so. I haven't found that bike seat that works for me yet, but maybe you've got that. Another thing that he's working on locally is he's developing a local supply chain for halal certified goat meat. You may or may not know that much of the meat that is currently available in the local grocers that is halal certified in downtown and other places, it's been frozen for 6 months and it's been shipped in from Australia. And we have goat farmers here in our county, right here in Kandiyohi County. So he's currently working with a Howick grower producer, and he's working with a Silver Lake processor. He's also adding a Kirkhoven processor, and he's working with Wilmer retailers. He has a small grant now through that one was through Minnesota Extension, right, to help to grease the wheels on this project just a little bit. But it's something that we're excited about. It's nothing that I would have imagined getting into a year and a half ago.
Just an aside from the goat thing, the fair had a lot of goats in the barns this year, and they had a what's the word? Some kind of hunt, scavenger hunt. And then one of the questions they could find is, how many goat species are there in the world? And you cannot believe it, 210. I can't even imagine.
In my mind, there's just big and they're small. So.
Yeah. But anyway, I didn't want to interrupt, but I found that very interesting that there's that many.
Thank you, Commissioner Nissen. Thank you.
We also have transportation planning at the MMDC. We have Kyle Tenaple. Today, Kyle is at a statewide meeting, or he's on his way to a statewide meeting in Bemidji, so he couldn't be here today, but I'm sure you will see his face from time to time. His work includes everything from pedestrian safety planning, safe routes to schools or active living type projects, sidewalk and trail planning assistance with just planning highway projects in our region. So, and I know that's something that Commissioner Nissen is also involved with, and we, again, appreciate his work in that area. One additional thing that we have in the transportation realm is it's that time of year again for the local human service public coordination or public transit coordination plan. This is a plan that's done every 5 years to ensure that our non-drivers, especially those who are disabled and our senior community, can have the transportation that they need. So this planning process is newly underway. It's a separate contract with MnDOT, and we're really hoping to do a lot of good discovery and really get some good public input. In fact, both Justice Walker and Kyle Tenaple will be riding buses to survey riders about the transportation services they receive and the things that they need, why they ride, but also where they ride to and what else is lacking. So as per federal law, that plan needs to be updated every 5 years, and MnDOT is working with us for that. Next, we'll talk a little bit about our Regional Transportation Coordinating Council grant, and I'll have Transportation Resource Coordinator Terry Smith talk to you about that.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, commissioners. As Transportation Resource Coordinator, I work with Eric. I started first of this year, and so I too have been learning, but I'm excited to be a part of the MDC staff. And so with my position, I work with the Minnesota Department of Transportation and Human Services, and we collaborate with other organizations throughout our region. One of the things that we do is to improve coordination amongst transportation providers and agents in the private sector to achieve 3 outcomes. Basically, identifying transportation gaps. We also streamline access to transportation and provide more transportation options. How we identify those things are working with provider engagement, getting transportation providers involved, working with the public transportation services in our region, and in our region here in Candy, Ohio, that's primarily Central Community Transit. We've been working alongside with them, getting their input on and trying to identify, working with an advisory council of stakeholders who utilize Central Community Transit. And then we've tried to find the areas that they need assistance with and maybe don't have the staff to help with. And coming out of COVID, that can be having a shortage of drivers. And so we've put together a promotion with a multimedia campaign, including radio interviews on local radio stations with CCT, as well as raising money or using our grant money to get put in newspaper ads and articles. And so just trying to recruit more drivers for CCT. Also, we're learning about the consumers that utilize the CCT and trying to promote the use of the CCT buses. One of the things also that we've done is making videos using our communications specialists at the MMDC. We're able to put together informational videos on the ease of use of booking rides. And so we just finished one now, and we're putting that out. The other thing that we do is transportation guidance, and so we have a database of other resources that are available to organizations and consumers, and this transportation resource guide is shared with all of our human service representatives, and we keep that updated to make sure that all of the current transportation resources, whether it's non-emergency medical transportation or specialized transportation services for those who need wheelchair access or rides to the medical appointments, those kind of things. The other thing that we work with is supporting the volunteer driver programs. These are programs that help people get to the grocery store, church, and medical appointments that maybe aren't able to access or use the public transportation. And so this is a program that we support by attending meetings and supporting the Minnesota Volunteer Driver Coalition. This coalition has just been responsible for assisting in the passing of 2 bills that have helped with creating an income tax subtraction. So we're very proud to be a part of that for volunteers. Basically, and then it also provided a better definition of what a volunteer driver is. This also helps with insurance rates for vehicle insurance. And so basically telling these companies that volunteer drivers are separate from Uber or Lyft drivers or paid transportation providers. And will hopefully allow us to recruit more volunteer drivers to fill in this gap when the CCT buses or the public transportation is not available. The other thing that we are looking at, working with MnDOT and Human Services, we find the need for other options of vehicle use. And this could be things like all forms of transportation. We've just recently worked with producing videos for the Wilmer Bikes program, as using the bikes are a great gap that's filled with transportation. Also looking at exploration of sharing vehicles or vehicles that are owned by companies that maybe could have a grant to be shared with other vehicles. And so there's all kinds of things that we are doing and exploring. We are supporting, as Eric mentioned, the 5-year local human services transportation coordination plan, and putting a steering committee together so that we can tap into more resources and find out where there are more gaps and what we need to do to help with our transportation services in our region. So with that, I'll turn things back over to Eric.
Okay.
So as you can see, the MMDC has been busy, which is good. And we want you to know that we're busy and that we're out in the community doing things. I know sometimes there might have been some question as to what the MMDC has been up to. I want to make sure that you don't have those questions moving forward. I hope to revisit you again in the future from time to time to let you know, give you updates as to how things are going. But at this time, I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have about the MMDC or any of the things that we're involved with currently.
Commissioner Amdak.
I really don't have any questions, but I just want to say I'm really energized, if you will, by your energy. I mean, I think I've learned more about MMDC in the last 6 months than I did in my previous 8 years as a commissioner. And, the youthfulness is showing. And I just want to applaud you for your industry and, making us aware of the possibilities of growing the economic community here in Kenny, or in the area that you serve, the 4 counties that you serve. Thank you guys for all your hard work.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're very happy to be part of the quality people that are around, including the Kennewick County, City of Wilmer EDC. Their staff are amazing. We work with SWIFT very closely. We work with the other counties too, of course. But we're very happy to be part of the conversation. And I also want to thank you for attending our SED session in Hutchinson last week. I know you've got conflicts tomorrow, and so you wanted to make sure you attended one. And so if anyone has any question as to what this session is like, they're under an hour. We hope you can attend one. Any other questions today?
Commissioner Nissen.
Just a follow-up on Roger's comment. I sense the same energy, and I work directly with you guys. And you had to face quite a few people. I wouldn't say bailing is the correct word, but you had to make some new hires, and I certainly think that those hires are working out very well, and I think you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you very
I
much.
had to say that because you put my picture in this.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. As an executive director, I kind of joke that it's not really my job to know much. In fact, I don't, but I'm surrounded by people who do. And if I can keep them happy and keep them on board, then I've done my job.
And thank you for information about Commissioner Nissen. He's on many committees, just like other people on the board here, but it's really good to hear these positive things and makes us all proud that what Kennewick County is doing. So good job, too.
Excellent. If anyone ever has another question, feel free to reach out. We're at your service.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate this very much. Very enlightening.
Sue, I was going to ask, was it a shock to have a window?
It was. I have to sit with my back to the window.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. At this point, then, I would like to recess the Kennewick County Board of Commissioners and call the Kennewick County Dish Authority in session. And my first item, or my last, would be the minutes. And I'm going to probably take that from the last meeting we had on August 1st.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'll move the minutes.
Minutes from August 1st Dish Authority meeting to approve them by Commissioner Nissen. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to call on Drainage Ditch Manager, Mr. Ingleby. Good morning.
Mr. Chairman and members, thank you for your time.
And Josh, too. Capital.
Yeah. We're here today to talk a little bit about County Ditch 37 and the Timber Lake wetland outlet structure. Even though we won't be asking you to take any action today, it's good information. We'll be back in the near future to ask you to take some action on the Joint Powers Agreement, which wasn't quite ready today. I haven't had a chance to give it to Mr. Baker's office for review, so we'll come back in the very near future with that. But to start this, I want to talk a little bit about Ditch 37. It's in Colfax Township, primarily. It does go into Burbank, but it was established in 1917 and constructed the year after. The construction of that ditch system drains several shallow, marshy areas, and one is Timber Lake. It's actually a little over 200 acres in size, or partially drained it, I should say. The construction of that ditch provided some agricultural opportunities for farming and pasture, but the watershed on Ditch 37, as it is today, is a lot of low-lying lands, some woodlands, some pasture lands, and some agricultural farmland as well. Back in 1986 or 87, a petition was presented to the county board by the Isaac Walton League of the New London chapter. And they wanted to partially restore Timber Lake bed and by putting in a water control structure. And that water control structure had stop logs in it, so the levels could be managed according to the management plan, and which it was. The structure is reaching its age limit or effectiveness limit.
Is this the one I get the calls about?
No.
I can't remember the fellow's name, but up there, there's a, south of Timber Lake, there's a fellow that calls me and complains about the flooding.
Oh, this one is part of the same watershed, but it's about a mile.
Okay.
Yeah, about a mile and a half away, sure. So in 1988, this water control structure was installed, and now it needs to be replaced. And so since that time, the Department of Natural Resources was given the charge to manage the water levels, and they periodically inspect it, as do I. And a year or so ago, or a couple years ago, we determined that, hey, this structure needs to be replaced. And it just so happened to be that we were lucky enough to have Ducks Unlimited and the Department of Natural Resources professionals work on this, and they have grant money to replace this structure for us. And I think it's a perfect opportunity now to have it replaced. The cost to the ditch system will be about $1,000. I committed $1,000 of ditch funds for some riprap or some erosion control measures. And my primary concern, or the concern that you would have as well, is to make sure that this structure that's been working very, very well since 1988 is replaced with a structure that hydraulically is the same, or as close to possible to be the same, and which means that we're not affecting any lands upstream by holding more water or pushing water upstream, and we're not letting out any more water at the outlet to perhaps affect any lands downstream or roads or any features downstream, which the hydraulic report that was provided to me and the design that's being proposed meets that goal as far as I'm concerned, and it proves it right in that report. And just by having this wetland, it holds back water. It acts like a kidney for not only extra storage of water, but take out some of the nutrients as well. So if the structure wasn't there, we'd probably have more flow through and not as good a water quality as well. So in my opinion, it's a great project, and we have the opportunity to have the resource professionals and the funding take care of the project for us.
Commissioner Emdek.
So the watershed is going to be, or the ditch system is going to be assessed $1,000. What is the total cost of the replacement of this structure, and where will that funding come from?
Good question, Commissioner Imdeck. The total cost of the project is estimated at right around $135,000, and that's what Josh and the Ducks Unlimited folks have come up with. That money is a grant source, and maybe Josh.
Yeah, so I believe Ducks Unlimited is going to use Lessard Sam's outdoor heritage funding for it, and then also maybe leverage that with some federal NACA money. So it'll be public grants that'll be used to replace the structure.
Any other questions, comments from anybody? Okay. Proceed.
In
Oh.
your packet, I also included the shallow lake management plan for Timber Lake. So that's a plan that was developed by, I believe, Josh.
Yep.
And with the details of how that lake bed will be managed for your information. And I did get a signed copy from the wildlife manager this morning. What we'll come back to you with is the joint powers agreement. We need to have some more review on that, and then I want to make sure Mr. Baker's office has a chance to review it before I bring it to you for your approval. But that simply means that the Drainage Authority agrees that the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, can manage the water levels in Timber Lake as they see fit according to the water management plan, or the Timber Lake water management plan. So it gives you a little bit of time to think about it and ask questions, and we've got the professionals here today, and we'll have them here when we do come back for the joint powers agreement as well. So are there any questions of me or anyone else about this project?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Anderson.
just one simple one. It says in here that you've determined the proposed structure is as close to a like-kind structure as possible. Do you have any diagrams of what the proposed structure will be?
Yes, I do, and it's in my folder back here.
Okay.
I have a question,
Commissioner
too,
Indak.
Mr. Chair. Josh, you can probably answer this. It looks like a fairly short or low structure. Is it 12 inches or what?
Yep, no, the structure is very low. Like Lauren said, it's to partially restore the basin. The lake itself is only 2.5 to 4 feet deep, but it is a really nice wild rice basin in northern Candiac County. Gets a lot of wildlife use. And our ability to do drawdown is restricted to just 2 feet. But it really helps us maintain a good rice crop out there.
And a follow-up, excuse me, follow-up question, is that the property around Timber Lake completely private?
Yes, there's no public access to the lake. The county holds an easement for the ditch and for the water control structure and access to it.
It's close to a road, close to Timber Lake Road, which is not a county road, is it?
I'm not sure. The agreements and stuff that Lauren presented, the management plan, just one thing that I would point out with that, really it's to kind of formalize what we've been doing for the last 30 years. I don't think there's a lot of changes in there. DNRs work closely with Lauren when we check the water control structure, do any manipulation. There's always good coordination there, so that's appreciated.
Sure.
Would you give your name and
Yeah, hi,
who
my
you
name's
represent?
Gary Scott. I'm a senior regional engineer for Ducks Unlimited.
Oh, okay, great.
And
Welcome.
I was involved with I worked together with these guys to come up with a new kind of design. I mean, it's very similar, but it hopefully it'll operate a little more efficiently and a little safer maybe to access those boards. Basically, the structure, just like you guys said, is there a way that we can project or did you guys want to see it? Or? Oh, okay.
Hang on. There you go.
I just didn't know if you wanted to see it. I have a picture. I
Sure.
could probably show you what the existing one looks like. It might be easier to show you.
Yeah, we have that on ours.
But for the
Mr.
public to
Chairman,
see.
yeah. Oh,
This is what the existing
let's
structure
go there.
looks like, if you can see that. This is a side view. It's very low head, and basically we're going to match that. We're going to match that same width. We are going to put sloped, we're going to put some little slopes. They have vertical ends on it. We're going to put a little bit of a slope on there, and then we're going to put a walkway that walks out so you can access the boards without having to get in the water, and hopefully that'll be safer. So it's like I said, it's not any higher. The stop log bay is the same. This is what the actual plans look like. If you guys are used to looking at plans, this is kind of
Back it a little bit.
zoom. Like I said, this is the same height. The crest of the weir, the stop log configuration is the same. And all we did is put a little bit of a slope on there to compensate a little bit for these. There's some vertical posts that'll be used to support this little walkway that we're going to have out there. There'll be a walkway that will access, so that you can access the stop logs.
Compared to the picture we have of what it is now and what you're proposing, it's like night and day. It's like night and day what you're planning, or what you're proposing to do there.
Right.
This is a fabulous plan.
Yeah, it'll be a lot safer structure. It should flow a little better. It'll be easier to maintain. Like I said, with not having the vertical, it's not very tall, but it's vertical. It could catch logs and stuff like that. Right now with the slopes, it'll be able to maybe pass some of the debris that comes through the structure. And again, not having to wade out to operate the stop logs will be a benefit. It'll be much safer.
Any other questions or comments?
It'll have a cap on it too. I don't know, it'll be a little more stout. Right now, it's just a sheet pile with there's nothing to stiffen it up. It'll have a big steel cap on it that'll make it stout, and this thing should last forever, so.
Well, that was one of the questions I was going to ask is, how long will this whole project, would we have to look at this again to update it? Are you expecting this to last 50 years, 100 years?
Easily 50 years. That's usually what we try to design for 50 years, but, if it's done properly, it should last way beyond that with the way that we have got it designed with the cap and everything on it. It'll be a lot, the sheets will be a lot deeper than the ones that are actually there. I can't remember what the sheet lengths are, but the old ones, but it's thicker. It'll hold up to the time well. 50 years easy, probably longer. The one that's there is probably, it's 50 years old and
Commissioner Nissen?
Well, we won't have to worry about it then.
No, that's for sure. But we are looking forward for the county anyway. And I think this is a fantastic project. It's just so neat. And I want to thank Ducks Unlimited working together, DNR working together, the county. Everybody got some skin in it, and it's really for the good for our environment. So,
Mr. Chair, could I ask one?
Yes, please, Mr.
What was your
Anderson.
name again?
My name's Kerry Scott.
Gary Scott, okay. Okay, thank you.
I'll leave you guys my card just in
Okay,
case if
great.
somebody has, I'll leave a couple. And if you guys have any questions about it, just feel free to.
Well, again, a big thank you. And what I understand now, you're going to be coming back next meeting with a resolution then for us to act on.
It's possible we can come back next meeting.
Yeah, whenever we can get it approved on our end, then we can present it to Lauren and
Okay.
share it you guys.
And I want to make sure Mr. Baker's office has plenty of time to review it before I bring it to you.
Sure,
If
Or-
that can happen in the next board meeting, that'd be great.
possibly.
We don't need any action today. This is informational today, but we will come back in the near future for
Okay.
your blessing and your approval.
Would you want to introduce that other guest?
So my name is John Lidstrom. I'm a regional biologist with you. I'm familiar with a few of you, and to what you said, DU really appreciates working collaboratively with the county and our partners. Elsewhere in the state, it's more of a combative partnership. It's really nice to come in front of a county board where we don't necessarily agree on everything together, but we can see benefits to projects like this and work together. As Josh referenced, it's a wild rice lake. Candy Ohio County has quite a bit of wild rice compared to other counties around it. But you're talking some of the further south wild rice lakes that still exist. So there's really a good benefit to working on this collectively. And, we worked for the county on Lake Wakanda, and that turned out really great. And that's kind of a different type of project where we took pea soup green into clear water. This is more of conserving and preserving what's there by replacing the structure before we lose that wild rice. So it's not as necessarily a showcasey project as some of those lake flip projects, but it's really important to the wildlife and the water quality too. So on behalf of DU, we thank the partnership.
Well, thank you. And Lauren, thank you for bringing this forward and putting it on the agenda. That's
Thank you.
good information, and look forward to seeing you next time. All right.
Thank you.
At this point, I'm going to adjourn the Candy Ohio County Ditch Authority meeting. And we are still under recess from the last meeting, and why don't we take about a 5-minute, continue the recess for 5 more minutes?
Okay,
And we'll reconvene then at
5 minutes.
10 after? I hereby call the Candido County Board of Commissioners back in session. And at this point, I would like to call on zoning administrator, Eric Van Dyke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Eric Van Dyken, County Zoning Administrator, here with 2 requests from the August 9th meeting of the Planning Commission. The first request is a conditional use permit request for Heather Larson. The location of Heather's proposal is essentially at the intersection of County Road 31 and Highway 23, northeast of New London. Heather proposes to move her dog grooming business from within the city of New London, where she's kind of outgrowing her current facility, and she would add some additional services to her grooming to include boarding and some dog training and possibly some daycare, as well as dogs sometimes are dropped off daily. The proposal does meet all of ordinance standards, including a 500-foot setback to any area residences. The Planning Commission did unanimously recommend approval with 3 attached conditions and findings, as you see in the minutes.
I will move that with the findings and what's the other word?
And conditions.
And conditions.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eric, is this kind of intended to be something similar to the type of facility that Marie Lingle has just outside of town?
Yes, Commissioner Gardner, I would say it would be pretty similar to the Fancy Coats operation there. One of the key things is that all the animals would be maintained under control and inside all the time, and that's similar to what she does there, but yep.
Okay. And this would be limited to no more than 40 dogs over 6 months of age. Is there any type of limitation, or would she not be taking dogs under that age?
The reason that is worded that way, it's straight from ordinance, and that limitation was put on a number of years ago to avoid the puppy mill type of situation. She's not going to be breeding there, so the question of 6 months or of age really isn't that important, but I did quote it verbatim from the ordinance in that.
Well, I very much appreciate the wording of that and the attention being paid to not wanting to have, like you say, a puppy mill type of situation. Minnesota's a large exporter of dogs to the pet store markets and a lot of puppy mills, even in the region. And and typically not good environments for those dogs or the brood stock in those kennels as well. So thank you for that.
That's it. Any other questions, comments from anybody? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. All right, proceed.
Thank you. The second request is a request of Kelly Morrell. Kelly is purchasing some property here just on the northwest edge of the city of Wilmer. It's a Thorpe property adjacent to County Road 5. If you'll recall, probably the larger apartment complexes going up in that northwest part of the city there. I would be just north of there where Mr. Morrell poses a storage rental facility. He proposes to have some conditioned space storage along the front. That would kind of be the visible portion. And then behind it would be a series of outdoor storage structures with also some room for potentially for some trailer parking way in the back that would be screened. The whole property would be fenced, and the Planning Commission did unanimously recommend approval with 2 attached conditions and findings, as you see in the minutes.
Do I have a motion to?
Mr. Chair, I would move on the application with findings and
Conditions?
conditions.
Okay, and the chair will second this, Corky Berg. Any other questions or comments, Mr. Van Dyken? Pretty straightforward. It looks like there's eight findings. At this point then, no more questions. I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you. Good job.
You have time for 2 signatures?
Sure. Does Karen need to get a copy of these or no? Okay. Okay.
Yep, you're next, Mark.
Give Mark a chance to get up there then too.
Yeah.
Just one place here?
Just, yeah, one there.
And one, oh, all right, there you go.
Don't go selling his autograph.
Yeah. All right, thank you for taking care of this.
Thanks, Eric. Have a good day.
Yep. Okay, at this point in the meeting, I'd like to call on Candioi County Auditor Treasurer, Mr. Mark Thompson, and you have a special ordinance you want to talk to us about.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I'm here today to present an updated, we call it a special occurrence non-economic abatement policy. Hopefully you've received copies of the policy in your packet.
Yes, we did.
And hopefully it was highlighted. The highlights show the different changes, the updated parts to the policy. The original policy was passed back in 2014, November 4th of 2014 is when the original special occurrence abatement policy was approved. Couple things here. The driving force behind this, the reason why we're updating it now, the Assessor's Department has been going through an audit, and the Department of Revenue highly recommended certain things be in our special occurrence non-economic abatement policy. For instance, the assessment errors, the classification errors, clerical errors. What we're doing here is we're just more or less defining, detailing out exactly what these types of errors are. And as I mentioned, there's a few other highlighted portions. Probably one of the things I want to point out definitely is further down on page 2. It talks about the county board delegates authority to the county auditor to grant tax abatements to correct exemption, classification, and value errors and clerical errors that are approved by the county assessor in writing. I want to stress that before I would abate anything under $5,000 or less, I would have to have a letter from the assessor explaining why they are authorizing the change.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point that out. Again, it's coming from the assessor. They would have a letter stating what the change is and why they are granting the abatement, asking for the abatement, I should say. Okay. So with that being said, I think it kind of speaks for itself, but you may have questions, by all means.
Mr. Kleindl.
This is clears it up and also gives the state auditors a paper trail that there's a checks and balances within our system.
Sure.
Do you need a motion on this?
Yes, we
Yes,
do.
we do.
Yes, we do.
Well, I'll move that we adopt this here abatement policy as amended or however.
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Anderson, seconded by Commissioner Nissen to move forward and approve the Candioi County Special Occurrence Non-Economic Abatement Policy. Okay, without any further questions or comments from anybody, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks for working on this.
Yes, especially with the auditors taking place, the audit taking place now, it's good to be up to speed on all that. At this point on the agenda, I'd like to call on the Candioi County Veteran Service Officer, Trish Appledorn. And good morning.
Good morning, Trish.
And you have a resolution for us, 2021-34.
Yes, I am requesting that the resolution 2021-34 be resolved by you, Candioi County Board of Commissioners, for our operational grant that we receive annually from the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs. Is the amount of $10,000 that we use for advertising events that we have throughout the year. things like that. So
And this is a grant we get each year, and how much was it last year?
it was 10,000. Ours
10.
is not changing this year. It's based on the veterans population.
Okay,
And ours is remaining the same this year, $10,000.
okay. There's a request for approval of this resolution.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt Resolution 2021-34.
A motion by Commissioner Anderson to approve, a second by Commissioner Nissen.
Yes.
Any further questions or comments? It's pretty straightforward and pretty routine, and it's good to have that for our people that we serve here in your department. And thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
Do you have the paper that needs to be signed?
We do.
Okay, all right,
yep.
perfect. I'll get it from Karen afterwards.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, all right. And next, we got COVID-19 business plan update and some ARP updates from Kansas County Administrator, Mr. Kleindahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, members of the public who are watching today. Appreciate it. I'm going to start out with the ARP information first, and then we'll go into the COVID. As you know, our first report is due on August 31st. We just got the instructions how to fill out the report. I haven't gone through it, but it looks like this. If you see it in the NACO section, it's 53 pages long. I'm trying to figure out what we need to do to send a report. I would imagine our first report will have all zeros in it for the interim, even though the board has approved monies for broadband from the ARP funds. No contracts has been signed yet with the provider until we know we get the grant. So we'll have to state what our intentions are with the grant. Now, I can always tell them what we initially know, that we support broadband, and other areas we'll be looking at as well. But broadband will be our primary focus with the ARP dollars. And then once we get through some of the budget stuff, I would like to get together and start forming committees like we did before, decide what areas we want to focus on and how do we want to go forward with those other ARP dollars. Again, as we get more and more instructions, it makes it a lot easier to do that.
Mr. Kleindahl?
Yes.
Are you looking maybe end of September, October, at that point of time we can possibly
Yes,
look
I would.
at
I
it?
think I would like to start forming it by mid-September, and so we're going by the end of September, early October. That's my goal.
Okay, good.
One of the things another request I would have is Connie Schmall from the EDC has a contract with the EDC to work on broadband. And this broadband grant with the national NTIA grant with the federal grant, which is due today, it's $30 million. And she's been her and Michelle Mazarik from MidMinnesota have been working very hard on this, and also trying to get all the contacts done in Dovry, Mamre, Arkander, and St. John's. Connie Schmall has been putting in more time than was initially contracted for. And so I would like to ask that we refund or pay the EDC up to $11,000 to cover some of Connie Schmall's time for broadband
I'll make that motion.
with ARP dollars.
Okay, with ARP, yes. Motion by Commissioner Nissen to approve up to, what was the amount again?
$11,000?
$11,000 of ARP dollars for the broadband with Connie Schmall and the EDC. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Gardner. Any further questions or comments? It's a very good deal.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that they're making that progress.
Yes, it's been a lot of work. This NTI grant, we hope to finish it by 1:30 today. It's due by 4 o'clock.
Oh, no.
And so that's $30 million. The border-to-border one is $10 million. Reason it looks like we're doubling up, we're the national one, there's only a 10% match.
Yeah.
The dollars that you put aside with ARP, that 1.3 million for the 4 townships, we could use that for other areas of the county then, for broadband. So we have 2 grants going in for broadband. One is, like I said, the border, and that's $10 million. and that we have to have a 50% match on that. The other one is the federal NTIA grant, which is due today, and that's going to be 7 townships, and that's only a 10% match, and Federated Telephone Company has agreed to do that match. We will contribute up to $1,000, $100,000 if the board would be willing to change the wording on the resolution we did. We did a resolution back in February that we would give each township $25,000 for border to border. And if we could just say, take that for this year broadband grant for the NTIA, we'd contribute the same amount, $100,000 for the 7 townships. So it's not $25,000 per township, it'd be the $100,000 we already committed for the 4. So instead of 4 counties or townships, you're getting 7 townships for the same money. And so I would like a motion that would state that Kennewick County is willing to contribute up to $100,000 to the national broadband grant that we're applying for today.
I will make that motion as well, since it's...
A motion by...
It's a no-brainer.
By Commissioner Nissen, and a second by...
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. And this is with the ARP dollars we're going to be using as well.
No, these are county,
That would be
these are
strictly
level
county
no
funds.
dollars.
Okay.
This is before we knew what we were gonna have for ARP dollars. And so we made commitment to do $25,000 for border to border.
Okay.
For 4 townships. But now you can do the same amount for 7 townships.
All right.
Yeah, that's a bargain.
Okay. Also, I would like.
Good leverage. And we need to
Yep,
vote on
yep,
this.
go ahead.
Okay. Any further questions? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
I'm wondering if the board would be willing to submit a letter of support today for the NTIA broadband infrastructure grant. It says, Kennewick County is aware of Federated Telephone Co-op proposal to provide broadband to 7 townships in Kennewick County. We know broadband is an essential part of community infrastructure because it offers many opportunities, including but not limited to promoting access to government resources, information, opportunities to buy and sell goods, especially for home-based businesses, offers access to healthcare and opportunities for education. The Kennewick County Board believes it is in the best interest of the county to support and endorse this project. Fiber to the premises increases broadband access in Kennewick County and is as necessary for our citizens in rural areas of the county. Therefore, on behalf of Kennewick County Commissioners, we are endorsing this grant and request NTI give strong consideration for the grant proposal. And sincerely, George Corkyberg, Kennewick County Board Chair.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will move approval of the letter of support.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner to approve the letter of support, and a second by
I'll second that.
Commissioner Emdek. Any further questions or comments?
Just, I'm glad to hear that whole thing is coming together and that Federated is moving on, because that was going to be a separate thing.
Yep.
And so if we get this grant, I mean, it just solves a problem that's been up in my area, especially because of topography. A lot of the other options do not work. The satellite and the wireless can't reach everybody. And if it's raining or snowing or windy, there's all kinds of problems that broadband will solve, and the working at home thing and all of the students having to stay at home, who knows when that's going to end. So this is awesome news. Thank you.
Yep.
We'll just cross our fingers. Things seem to be really falling in line with broadband. And,
we haven't got the grant
there's
yet.
so many pieces yet to go. But we're seeing something happening and good progress. And I'll call for the vote at this point. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
The next is a letter of support for the border to border. So when they announce that the dates for the border to border, I would like to have the board endorse the application for the 4 townships for the border to border grant. And this letter is to Commissioner Steve Grove from Department of Deed, and basically says the same thing as I said before, how important broadband is to rural parts of our county.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for this letter of support for border-to-border grant.
Also move.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner. The chair will second it, second by Corky Berg. Okay, any questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
Next board meeting, I'll be bringing a request for use of ARP dollars for Princeburg. This, as you know from our presentations with our broadband work session that we had and ARP's work session we had, Princeburg is in the process of trying to get fiber into the city. And so I want to give you a heads up that at the next board meeting, we'll be discussing funding that project with ARP dollars. And if you have any questions beforehand, I will try to get those to you. Okay, next, I would like to give an update on COVID. Is there any more questions on ARP before I move on? Okay, thank you. Next, I got an update from Denise Kringerbringer regarding COVID. As of yesterday, these are yesterday's numbers. Overall vaccinated rate in Kansas County for ages 16 plus is 58%. The overall rate in Minnesota, 16 plus, is 70%. So you can see in Kansas County we're lagging behind in getting people vaccinated. As you have seen in the paper and in the news, the Delta variant virus has increased and is given a pushback to what we're trying to do to get ahead of this here COVID stuff. And so we're trying to get people to get vaccinated. And I encourage all those who are watching or who may be watching later, if you haven't gotten vaccinated, please do so if you're able to do so. It is so important. And so we don't want to go backwards, and I know it's not the most funnest thing that can happen. On August 9th, I think you received an email from me regarding some changes I have within our county office building. I requested that department heads, supervisors, and staff limit the size of meeting rooms that they have, people they have in a meeting room, and how long they're in a meeting room. I'm encouraging hand washing and social distancing again. We're encouraging clients and customers to make appointments in the no wait inside the system that we have, or use Dropbox. So if you're out there watching it and you're wondering whether or not we want you to use the Dropbox or to use the no wait inside, please do so, especially for your license tabs, your driver's license. It makes it so convenient. When if you have an appointment, you're probably in and out of there within 15, 20 minutes. If you don't have an appointment, you're often waiting there for 25 minutes or longer. So I'm encouraging you, if you haven't used this system, please go on our website and use the no wait inside and make appointments, or use a Dropbox. And I think some of you commissioners have used a Dropbox for license tabs. You drop it in there and you have it mailed back within a day or so.
I can attest to that. I did it myself, and the very next day I got it, which took a little cooperation from the local post office, I would imagine, too. Yeah. But it was very, very quick and efficient. So
it's almost just as fast. It is, or faster.
Yeah.
So we've seen it start going the other way, where a lot of people aren't making appointments, and so I would ask that the public consider that. Also, I attached to the staff's email general guidelines regarding COVID, what to do if you're sick or test positive, on how long you have to stay at home. That was included. I also asked them to meet if they're meeting with the public face to face to do the health screening that we have. Talking about if they've been sick or they have a fever or whatever. Make sure they do the screening guidelines. Also, if you're meeting with the public, ask the public to wear a mask, or you wear a mask if you haven't. If you're sitting with them. If you have not received a COVID-19 vaccination, we are requiring you to wear a mask while in any county building or interacting with county employees. Masking is highly encouraged for all staff, even if you've been vaccinated in the public areas, like hallways and stuff like that. We're encouraging that. If you haven't been vaccinated, you're encouraged to be vaccinated. To schedule an appointment, contact your public health care provider, local pharmacy, or you can get your healthcare shot here at Public Health on Wednesdays from 1 PM to 2 PM. So, and then, Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask one more thing. I would like to have permission that if the COVID numbers continue to go up over the next 2 weeks, that I would be allowed to require our staff to have, do a mask mandate. I don't want to do that, but if the numbers go up, I don't want to wait until September 7th, our next meeting, to make that ruling. And so I would like to have the board give me that flexibility along with consultation with the health and medical team. So I wouldn't make it by myself. I would consult with the Kansas County Health and Medical team if they think we should require masks.
Mr. Kleindl, my question is, 2 weeks authority to do this. I'm wondering we shouldn't make that at least 4 weeks in case something comes up, or give us a little bit of cushion that you're going to have that authority to do that. But with the idea you're going to look at.
Yeah, otherwise I could bring it to each board meeting.
Each board meeting, okay.
It's up, I mean, I was trying to give you guys the authority to continue to review this.
Yes, and you would keep us posted. Commissioner Emdack.
Question, when you say you'll not make that decision in a vacuum, you're talking about the local rapid response team, COVID rapid response? Correct.
We reconvene the team again, and we're meeting weekly by phone in the morning, and we're reevaluating what the situation is with the numbers.
Reading the news and what's taking place, we all are very concerned of the future with this COVID and the new variation, and hearing more and more counties, more businesses that are doing, mask mandates, as well as requesting vaccinations or a combination of vaccinations and tests. And I think this is something we have to be prepared that we're going to have to be looking at and addressing as we go forward, the vaccination concerns. Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move Administrator Kleindl's request as originally stated to 2 weeks.
Okay. A motion by Commissioner Gardner to give Administrator Kleindl authority for mask mandates for the county. A second by
I'll second that, Mr.
Commissioner Emdack. Any further questions or comments?
I just want to say I trust Larry. He's going to be able to respond to this as is necessary in consultation with our healthcare professionals, and have the full faith and confidence in his judgment.
Thank you.
Yes, and he can keep us posted even with emails as well, or as I just, all right. I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
The second thing I would like to ask permission of, again, because of COVID numbers, that if the numbers did spike and they evaluate it so fast that we would need to close down the buildings and go by appointments, I would like to have permission to allow this with consultation with the chair and the vice chair. Would not do this without the chair and the vice chair, and it would be reevaluated on September 7th. Again, if the numbers spiked and it became necessary to protect our staff and the public, that we would see clients or customers by appointment only. I would do that in consultation with the chair and the vice chair.
Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will move on the administrator's request as well.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Emdack. Any further questions or comments? I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
So just so you know, I don't want to do either one of those.
No.
I don't
Neither
think
do
any
we.
of us do. And yes, because that is a step backwards. On the other hand, we need to make a difference. We don't want people to die. We do not want people to get sick.
Right.
We want businesses to operate without losing staff to staying home with COVID.
So our numbers and our employee numbers are going up with COVID. We've had more in the last couple of weeks than we've had when we were at the peak of the pre-Delta virus. Yeah. So that's what is bringing me to this next comment. As you know, we've been trying to get our employees to get vaccinated and the public to get vaccinated. And it seems like with the numbers I'm giving you, we're hitting the wall. People that are getting vaccinated, it seems like it's just stopped. So I'm trying to find a way to encourage our employees to get vaccinated. And I think I might have a solution, and I would like to ask this. For all county employees who are vaccinated and those who get vaccinated by September 30th, of this year, if they can show a vaccinated card, they will be allowed 4 hours off, and that's to be used by December 24th of this year. They would have 4 hours off with pay. Also, those that have a medical reason or because of religious reasons, they would also qualify.
Okay.
So it would be, if you can show your vaccination card that you've been vaccinated, and you get vaccinated before September 30th, you would get 4 hours with pay to use between now and December 24th.
Okay. Why don't we entertain a motion and then we'll have a discussion? A motion for discussion's sake. Commissioner Gardner?
move.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner. Do we have a second? The chair will second that for discussion purposes. Questions or comments? Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Larry, do you have any ballpark cost to the county on this, or?
No, but
or
I know what the cost.
Or is it essentially budget neutral? You're just giving people time off?
Right. It would, all I know is what the cost will be if you be on quarantine for 10 to 14 days. So the numbers of employees that are vaccinated, if they're out, it costs us 1 half day. If you get COVID, you're out and you're positive, you got symptoms, you're out 10 days. That's productivity that we lose, and we are losing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and am I nervous about it? Yes. But I'm trying to do the best I can to make sure we have a workforce that's here at work.
I personally am not excited about doing something like this, but I think we're talking about saving lives, helping people out and making a difference, and also about the cost. I bet if you look back this past month, the number of employees that were out would probably easily, and the time they lost here working, producing work here, would easily equal what you're talking about.
And it has effect on the employees that have been vaccinated or are here. They have to pick up that work. But if the board wants to have some time to think about it, because I didn't give you any notices, I would have no problem if you wanted to wait on this.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just so we're clear, does that includes people that already previously were vaccinated?
Correct. If you are
Okay.
all you have to do is show.
That's fine. I'm fine
Yep.
with that, because it would almost be like a punishment if they got vaccinated before and never got this.
No, I want to reward those employees who have been vaccinated or get vaccinated by the 30th of September. And just to be clear, if you have a doctor's note for medical reasons that you can't get vaccinated or for religious reasons, you'd also be exempt.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I share the sentiment that we don't want to be in the least bit punitive here. But we just got done thanking our county employees for all the work that they did. We went around to the different buildings and we told them how important they are to us. I don't see this as being punitive in the least. Rather, this is actually the opposite. We care enough about you that we want you to come along for the ride with us here. And I understand vaccine hesitancy, but people's lives, as you said, Mr. Chair, are at stake. People's livelihoods are at stake. The ability for businesses to be able to operate is at stake. And so I'm very comfortable in doing all of these things that Administrator Kleindl has brought to us today, in the hope that we can start to turn these things around and at the very least protect our staff and their families.
It's a voluntary thing.
Administrator Kleindl, my question to you is that, do you think 4 hours would be enough to motivate people to do it? Do we need to look at it a day off? Will that make a difference?
Mr. Chair, I've been going back and forth. And there's always going to be more. And one of the things that you learn about with medical ethics, you don't want to make it the reward so high that you felt like you're forcing to do something that you didn't want to do. This has got to be a choice. And so you set the reward low enough that it doesn't break the ethics of forcing somebody to do something.
I just don't think, though, we can, pass this thinking we'll go forward in a sense that, well, if I wait a little bit longer, I'll get a whole day off. But no, proceed.
I agree that I think 4 hours is enough. I disagree that sweetening the pot beyond belief, kind of like the current situation with the unemployment, $300 is counterproductive. And I would appeal to the staff, personal responsibility has to come in here, and your responsibility to your coworkers and to the public at large. And so I think 4 hours time off is a good reward, because I think we do have to do some encouragement. On the other hand, we also have to appeal to their heart and their personal responsibility to take care of their relatives, their coworkers, and the general public.
I mean, 2 weeks ago, if you asked me if this was possible, I'd say no way.
Yeah.
Last week, when I started getting calls about people, our employees being out, I started rethinking about this. And so on Friday, I thought, I need to do something. As the administrator, I have to figure out a way to make sure that we keep our workforce together. And what can I do? And so I use the only resource that I know that might be an incentive.
This will also give us a handle to know how many people are vaccinated who work for us.
Well, that
Not names, but
follow up, how many of our staff have been out, and hospitalizations, any of that
No
at all?
hospitalizations, but we have had people quite ill at home.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that.
Yep. And I know, I think a couple of commissioners sent me an email last week, had requests from public of how many of our staff that are vaccinated, and I don't know that.
Sure. Commissioner Emdek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I shared the same concern that Commissioner Anderson had regarding only rewarding those that haven't yet gotten it. I spent years in the seed corn business, and every time there was a promotion, it was always for new dealers. And it's like, what about, or new customers? What about the ones that have been loyal all these years that, is there no value there? So I appreciate.
So it is, of course.
And the other thing is, and on first blush, I was somewhat skeptical of the effectiveness of this. Time will tell. But I was also skeptical of the $100 that the state of Minnesota has offered, and I was evidently it is showing some results, which surprised me a bit. So I don't think this would hurt. I do have a question. I don't know if you can answer it without some research, but whatever time that employees take here, would that be eligible for ARP dollars to recoup?
Oh, good question.
That's a thought. It's COVID related for sure.
Yes. But we can't use it to replace salary, right? Wasn't that one of the things?
I don't know, and it might,
But
I don't know if it'd be worth that hassle, to be honest with you.
Paperwork.
yeah.
I'll look into it though, because, if we can, I don't know if, it's COVID related, so it would be, but I don't know if you can do,
Incentives.
Yeah, I don't either.
I can check into it.
Where's
You stumped me. You won.
Where's the state of Minnesota getting their funds?
Yeah, I'll have to ARP dollars. I mean, so, yeah, it's probably possible, I just don't know. And so I don't want.
I didn't expect you to know the answer.
Thank you.
But we'll find out more, and maybe down the road there's another option then. It sounds like none of us are real excited about this, but I think what we're saying is that we got to do whatever we can to slow this virus down. It's crucial.
Mr. Chair, do we vote on it?
Yes.
You ready to move on? Okay. At this point, no more questions or comments. And I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
Okay, a couple of administrative updates. We're working on iCompass, the system that works for our board minutes, and also setting up the board agenda. We're we're trying to get coordination to give you guys some training, so you know how to use it when you get it. Also, we have to train our department heads, but it's going to be coming real soon. What will happen is some major changes regarding how we do the agenda and what can be added to the agenda. Once the deadline passes, it goes in the packets. Sometimes things come after Friday that needs to get on the agenda. Those things will be harder to get on into the agenda and into the minutes. Not impossible, but the system isn't as flexible as what we have right now. But it's more detailed, hopefully going forward with the minutes. Okay, so that's going to be coming. Hopefully we can have that rolled out in September. Just a reminder, August 26th, we have a work session, budget work session. My question to you as a board, is there any one department you would want to hear that you have a recommendation? I have some departments that I'm willing to, I want to have come to present, but do you have a department head that you would like to hear from regarding their budget?
Commissioners?
I'll trust your judgment
Okay.
as to.
And we've heard from some of the major ones
You did.
already, so that's,
Dwayne, Roger? Anything? Okay. Hopefully you have the remote policy.
well, just one more question about the budget then. So everybody's going to be getting a copy of the budget?
Yes.
Okay, and that'll be in their mailbox, and
Yep.
they'll have a chance to look at it ahead of time. And if they even have some questions.
They can call me.
They can call you, so
Yep.
prior to our meeting, so we can all be kind of up to speed and move forward. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you for reminding me of that. The next step on the remote policy, we've gone through the staff now, line staff, went back to the main committee, and I'll be taken to the department heads, and then I'll hopefully have it to you for first presentation by the second board meeting in September.
Okay.
Okay? Mr. Chair, I have one additional item that came in after the board agenda came in, and Roger had talked with the city of New London, and the city of New London did a resolution opposing the plan for the Great Rivers Energy Line reroute to New London. And they did a resolution saying they would like to recommend that they take an extended route. And I'd like to read a letter, because you don't have it in your box yet, and so I'll just read the letter, what I'm recommending. This is a letter of support for the city of New London. The Kansas County Board is writing this letter in support of concerns brought forward by the city of New London in the attached city resolution dated August 4th, 2021. As part of the Great River Energy Project, we are asking you to consider alternatives to design that is being proposed. We have been working for many years with the city of New London, the school, and MnDOT to improve safety for both pedestrians and vehicles. We have done safety plans, added sidewalks, adjusted speed zones, added traffic claiming techniques, and replaced water and sewer lines along County Road 9 and County Road 40. Pole location is critical to avoid future costs to any of these entities during the improvement along this corridor. The county has concerns along with the city about future costs of our water and sewer lines. The Great River Energy, with this new alignment, would recognize significant savings by eliminating 3 miles of overhead line in a challenging terrain. We encourage you to invest in the savings in the underground insulation through the residential corridors of this new route. Small rural communities can be extremely challenged on funds due to limited commercial and residential property values, lower household incomes, affordable utility rates, and tax levy capacity. The county is also concerned with negative impacts on property values. We support our local communities with their economic efforts so they can thrive and survive. We look forward to working with you on this project and also concur with the Great River Energy efforts to provide a loop system for reliability. And if they have any questions, they can contact me. So that would be the support letter to the city of New London.
Mr. Chair, I would move on the letter of support.
A motion by Commissioner Emdak to move on the letter of support of New London. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Well, Commissioner Gardner. Seconded. Questions or comments? Commissioner Emdak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was sent this, the New London Spicer School District, along with myself, were sent a message from the city of New London with the resolution requesting our support. I didn't go looking for it, but it was part of
Okay.
their request to us. And so by the time we were able to act, it was just a little tight for the today's agenda. Appreciate your
And you have to have it
accommodation.
done. I can't wait 2 weeks,
Yes.
I take it.
Yep.
For us to look at. Any other questions or comments from anybody? There's certainly, okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you for bringing that
Thank you.
forward. And thank you, Commissioner Emdek. Okay, at this point, any other appointments at all? Anything on our calendars to remind people of? Otherwise, we'll move right into committee reports. And Commissioner Gardner, are you?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, attended virtually the Minnesota Association Workforce Board's annual meeting held over 2 days, as well as the Candy Eye Renville Community Health Board. We met one of the concerning things that we touched on just a few minutes ago. The Delta variant is now the most prevalent within the region and probably the entire state, and our numbers just keep going up. And if they keep going up at the rate it's shown over the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's probably not sustainable, and that's why I support the request of the administrator. We were supposed to have an HRA meeting at the Lakeview Apartments at last minute. That was canceled because they have COVID amongst the residents there. And so the chair wisely canceled the meeting. Looking forward to being on open mic with Commissioner Nissen tomorrow. And we, Commissioner Berg and I certainly enjoyed sharing a booth out at the county fair. We're happy to see a number of people out there answer their questions and concerns, and that's all I have.
Commissioner Nissen.
Oh, we're going that way. Well, I had
Sure.
a number of, about 10 meetings since the last meeting, so
have your
I'll try to
share.
be as brief as
Okay.
possible, even though he says I talk too much, but I don't know.
I didn't say that today.
I'm sure he's, not yet anyway.
Keep going.
We had, on the same day, 2 meetings. The Hawk Creek met, and that was very routine, and the Hawk Creek / One Watershed, One Plan, which is going to be renamed, met also the same day. Our attorney from St. Cloud was supposed to be there to share some paperwork, and he didn't show. Apparently, he had another commitment pop up on him. We did decide to go with the Central Minnesota River One Watershed, One Plan name. And I don't know if I'm saying that exactly correctly, but it's not going to be the Hawk Creek One Watershed, One Plan. It's more, and I believe that passed. So without going any further, we had a live meeting with Prime West Health, a little bit of a scary report by Prisbilla. Jim Prisbilla, the director, talked about and I can never remember the phrase for acquiring the funding, but there was a director of the Department of Health that resigned or left, and the new person, it sounds like, isn't quite as enthusiastic about county-based purchasing as we would like him to be. So a little work ahead of us there. The Highway 23 Coalition met, just briefly. Marketing is what we talked about, and we've got some signs going up on, and maybe some of you have seen them, on the current highway path, and we're updating the website. Kennewick County Historical Board meeting met Monday night, and we talked about the fair and getting everything set together for that. Shakopee Creek and Ditch 27, we had a meeting and talked about that, and it was just absolute perfect timing that today we had the Ducks Unlimited people who I needed to talk with. I had an opportunity to talk with them. By the way, if anybody wants Kerry's card, he gave me several of them, so let me know. Had a ditch hearing for JD 52. That went very quickly because nobody showed up to say anything. And then the 150th county birthday party was held at the fair, and we had a very disappointingly light turnout in the grandstand for that. Plus, let's see, Dave Baker was the only elected representative that showed up. Danny Baker, 48 years on the fair board, he talked about, he hopes to make it to 50 years. I asked him if he started when he was 12. He didn't answer that question, but that's a long time to serve, and he's done a good job. He did talk about some of the history of the fair. And West Central Industries.
May I just add to that?
Yes.
For everybody's information, Commissioner Nissen is on the Kansas County Historical Society.
Chair, actually.
It's the chair, and spoke as well as myself, but he gave a very excellent speech, and he actually broke into song. And we all sang happy birthday to Kansas County
Yes,
for
we did,
150
yes.
years. He did an excellent job of it.
Like I said, there, you can't give me a microphone, I might break into song, which I did, because that was planned, though.
Yeah.
Okay, West Central Industries had a personnel meeting. We're looking at an outside company to do their human resources, because the director has been overwhelmed with trying to do that, plus her regular job. And finally, Prairie Woods met last night. I will leave that to Roger.
Okay, Commissioner Anderson, you want to go next?
Yep. So we did a redetermination of benefits, had that finalized or whatever for JD 52, and Commissioner Nissen talked about that. I also had a Vision 2040 meeting. That was pretty much a routine meeting, I guess. And then we had the county fair last week, and I was there at the Drug Free Coalition booth I was on the 12th. I was there for a few hours representing them. And then we also, that same day, it would be the Extension Service, which is another committee that I sit on. They did their County Farmer of the Year award, and that went to Brower's Berries. I think I can say it at this time since it was handed out at the county fair. And that would be Dan Brower. Unfortunately, they had a bad year for their berries. I think they said they got like about a 10% crop was all, which was really unfortunate. But they said they were able to make it up in other areas. But it's kind of sad. I was there last year, and it's really hectic when they get their berries, and a lot of fun too. So that's about all I have.
Mr. Emdek.
Thank you. I'm going to go back quickly to Commissioner Gardner's discussion about Kansas County Renville Public Health. So we have a Kansas County Renville County Public Health joint operations agreement. We also had an advisory committee, and the board resolved to eliminate the advisory committee. Many of the people were the same people, and we were getting the same information at each meeting. So the advisory committee has been disbanded.
As of now, then. Okay.
Yeah, that's a citizen advisory committee.
Yes,
And they,
yes.
by and large, all supported that. But that gives us a bunch of candidates for when we need to replace somebody on the actual board. I attended the MidMinnesota Development Commission meeting that some of you may be doing this afternoon. Or this week, I went to the one in Hutchinson because of a scheduling conflict. That was the same day as the public health. There's really nothing to say about the ditch hearing. Middle Fork Crow River Watershed District is in the process of making an offer to a new manager. I don't know the results of whether or not that an agreement has been met there. Then on the 16th, Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center Governing Board just last night, one of the program directors that has been out there for maybe 8 years. Steve Friedline has turned in his resignation. So we'll lose a really valuable asset out there in that regard, because he was really good with the kids and with the programming. And it just turns out that they're going to be teaching their kids from home, and he's going to be the homeschooler for them. So it was basically personal stuff that caused him to make that decision. There's something else I was going to circle back on that somebody else said might come to me before I leave this afternoon for the Association of Minnesota Counties strategic planning meeting up on the North Shore. We'll be gone for a couple of days. Oh, I know what I was going to go back to. The Highway 23 Marketing Committee that Commissioner Nissen was also at. We talked about, so some of you may or may not know that the federal government offered earmarks in transportation. That's not the name they want to give it to them, but every congressional district was allowed to put in an application for $20 million for their district. And not all of the Minnesota congressional districts chose to do it. And so our marketing committee has drafted a letter that we're going to present to the full board to send to those that did not and those that did apply for the grant, to either encourage them to do so in the future or to thank them for doing it in the past. So, which is kind of a segue into what I've talked about before. We really need to make a decision about the rooms will be, and the block will be closing soon for the transportation fly-in on September 21st. I think we need to allow whoever is interested in going. I would like to suggest that we authorize at least 2 people attending, even if we'll end up one, so that they can make their travel plans for that meeting. We have, by the time September rolls around, the infrastructure bill will probably have moved further through the process, and our neighboring counties are already registered to be there. I think the challenge is going to be, as that infrastructure bill, assuming it does get signed, if we're not there, then that money is going to go to other places in the country and the state. So I really believe we need to be at the table for that. So.
Commissioner Emdek, so anybody has interested to let Mr. Kleindahl know then?
Yes.
Any of the
And we
commissioners?
got to make, I mean, even if we cancel them later, we got to make reservations soon, or we're going to be. I've done this before, and I'm sure many of you have too, that when you're not in the base hotel where the stuff is happening, you miss out on a lot of things. So.
And you've done this before too as well? Yep. Okay. Good. That's good information to have. I'll go last. I don't have a whole lot to share, but I had an EDC meeting, a subcommittee. It's a subcommittee of the Workforce Development Committee, and it was called the Business Retention and Expansion and Recruitment Committee. And we just met yesterday again, and a couple of our goals are to expose originally about 200 students to local businesses, and like a visit different kinds of businesses, so for careers that they may be looking at from some of our schools. They've done something like this in the past. As a result of the meeting, though, with everything else going on, and the schools are picking up a lot of this type of resource already, we talked about plans to have different businesses make videos, and that they could submit their videos, and those short videos that they would have about their business to make it available. This way it would be available to all the schools. The students could see more of what's going on, and with the idea there could be follow-up to that. So it would be a way to promote their business and to try to keep people interested in Kansas County, let them know what's happening, as well as they could have a career here if they wanted. But it also helped them to know where they may want to go after they graduate. And we also talked just briefly, but no really details to pass on, other than planning a summit with workforce partners and businesses as much as we can get together later this fall. I also had a fair booth, as we talked about, and it was it was very time consuming, 4 days of sitting there talking to people, but it was very interesting and we shared some of the experiences already. What I really enjoyed is that we had a chance to connect with people in our community and ask them questions as well as they could ask us questions. And I was expecting a lot of people would have a lot of concerns and complaints and you name it. And it was very positive. It just really was rewarding to see our community that they are so interested in Candioi County and they really like Candioi County. I had 2 people come up to me and I think I said, one person said, I came here 3 years ago and visited somebody, I never left. And another person says, well, I came from this state and I moved here and I just can't believe, in a rural community, this is rural, they kept emphasizing. So I'm not sure what kind of community they came from, but they thought you have so many services and transportation, we got so many things going on, and they had a special need child. And they thought this is just really great that they were here. Positive things about recycling, a lot of positive things about recycling. I'm really concerned about the rural area because, you know, them getting recycling just once every 4 weeks. And the majority of the people said, hey, that does work for us. And we are pleased with that. So it's good to hear other sides as well for recycling. One thing I did hear from a couple of people is concerned about cardboard. You know, that one can's fine, but the cardboard just kind of gives us an issue. So that's something, I guess, to keep in mind that I think you're thinking about already, possibly.
In the budget.
In the budget. Okay, well, that'll come maybe next meeting then. All right. Oh, that just fit in really well. We didn't plan this, for sure. But anyway, that's enough for now. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'm going to adjourn the Candioi